Okay, so here we are. Good afternoon and warm welcome to everybody this afternoon, particularly our international attendees, our panelists and expert speakers to the first of our Inside Out webinar series. This is a new initiative of interactive webinars brought to you by Global Business Services, GBS, and its partner, the well-known English language news provider, Vietnam Insider. So particularly in these COVID challenge time, our goal is to bring actionable insights to our network of investors, business owners and expatriates who are considering or already invested in Vietnam. So this is the purpose of our webinars. We might discuss that a little bit more as we go along, because again, nobody really knows how long this will last for. And there are obviously some sectors particularly impacted and some of them are quite capital intensive, but let's move on. And thank you, Dimitro, for again, stimulating discussion around the credit conditions. Our final speaker today is Ms. Tran Minh Thu, or Katleen, who's legal partner at GBS's Ho Chi Minh City office and director of VICLaw Limited as well. And very importantly, she's the only Vietnamese in our discussion today. So her practice is focused on inbound foreign direct investment, corporate law and taxation. Prior to joining her firm or setting up her firm, Katleen worked for years with a Korean firm and helped many Korean companies enter the Vietnamese markets in different industries. And at the firm, Katleen continues to advise foreign investors on establishing and operating businesses in Vietnam. So her focus today is going to tell us a little bit more on the practical matters around handling debtors in Vietnam, and then obviously she'll probably handle a lot of the questions that are going to come about some real cases. So, so over to Katleen. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your introduction. From my side, I will just share some information about debt management. So I will have three content to share with you. The first is the insight for debt management in Vietnam right now in the COVID pandemic. The second is I will share with you some my experience how to handle, how to settle a bad debt situation. And the third is some notes for the lender if you're going to become a person who giving a debt in Vietnam. So the first one for insight, as on previous speakers talk about, this is not an easy situation. Also for the debtor of the bank. But besides the bank debtor, there is also other cases can become a debt. For example, there is a dispute or sales and purchase contract. There's many contracts in the market, and when it's late payment in the contract, it's also become a debt automatically. And the third, in case of the loan, is not from the bank, but it's from company to company or personal in the market. They also can do loan a debt by themselves, and that's one is sometimes it's become a lawsuit if they difficult to pay because of financial difficulty right now. So that is the first. The second, I would like to share with you for how to handle a bad debt in Vietnam. So as you know, basically for the legal process in Vietnam for a lawsuit, Vietnam will have two levels of lawsuit as a court in order to handle a case like that. But before you go to a lawsuit, a case, you will also can go to the mediation center. In Vietnam, we also have a mediation center in the case of dispute, in the case of a particular or individual loan in the market, and also the arbitrator beside the court. So basically, there's many ways to handle the situation of bad debt, especially for the bank. The bank also have a special from the law of Vietnam. if the bad debt have a secured asset with a register, you can go to a shop, we can say a reduced procedure with a very short term to handle the case at the court. So it's not mean that you have to spend a lot of time to handle the lawsuit or the case to get back the debt, but you also can go with a reduced procedure. Basically, the debt in Vietnam need to be registered. That is the highest, how to say, is actually the easiest way to get back the money. In case it's not from the bank, in case the lender is a company or person giving a loan, then you may not know how to do procedure. Then you will face many trouble in case it's difficult to get back, or if it is a case of late payment from a sale contract or for a service contract, then you will need to follow some steps before you go into a lawsuit. For example, you would send in a warning letter, you could negotiate. There's many ways that people is going to do before go to a lawsuit or get it more serious. Because right now, every people understand all the company have an individual have financial difficulty. That's why I go into the third issue. Is a note for lender. First for lender and second for a debtor. The notes for lender, in order to give at the beginning when you want to, because right now also, I'm not talking about the bank, but for the company or individual want to give a loan, then you may need to consider, because right now also many people have financial trouble, they will ask for a loan. But first of all, you will need to identify the debtor. The debtor is a company or personal, and company or personal have very different point of view or different situation of legal in the final sentence at the end of the day. For example, for a company, it depends on this is limited company or unlimited company. With limited company, as you know, their responsibility will limit in what their capital. So you will need to check the capital first. For personal, the best way you need to have collateral. Yeah, all people know the collateral is the best way. However, in order to identify or to know many loans, I see that they only try to get the money, and the lender only give money by a paper. They even not have collateral. So that's one you may need to be careful. Yeah. And the second thing you need to also note here is identify collateral. Collateral is not only, if it is a real estate property, then it's quite easy and quite sure. You evaluate the value, and then you check the legal document of that property, then it should be clear. But there are also other kinds of collateral is IP asset, intellectual property. So in this case, I see in the market, some loan agreement, security agreement also be secured by the IP. So how to identify it? You need to check if the IP is registered or not. If it's a copyright, also have procedure and the license for that, or trademark, also have a license. So that all of this we need to show very carefully about the documentary. And one more thing is about the collateral belong to who? It's together with debtor and collateral. In many cases, I see the owner of the collateral, for example, assets of company, IP assets also belong to personal, or even real estate property. It belongs to personal, belong to the shareholder, but it is used by the company. It's like the company have a right to use it, even have a cooperation contract between company and shareholder to use the asset. But basically, the asset still belongs to shareholder as the ownership document. So in that case, if you not check carefully, you sign the security agreement with lender, which the debtor is company, then in the future, the debtor is wrong. The asset is not belong to that company or in personal, like that. And the third one you need to note here is the signing contract or procedure. In Vietnam, we have procedure to register the security agreement. if you have collateral, the best way you register it. Because when the thing happened at the end of the day, in order to handle the loan, then the court will always reality handle the case with collateral which register first, and then collateral without register, and finally is the loan without any collateral. So basically the best way is register collateral. Okay, then I will go to the final thing I would like to note with you is for the debtor, in order to get a loan, and once you debtor, if a case happen, for example, then right now I understand there's many cases very difficult for the debtor to handle. But in Vietnam, we have mediation center who can negotiate. We can negotiate about the time, about the percentage, interest rate, like that. And also, we also can, for the debtor, we also can share, we can ask for the corporation, or we also can have a renter to guarantee the asset. One final thing I would like to share with you is the support from the Court of Vietnam in the case of bad debt handler. For bad debt handler, you know, if it's the bank, it's easy. Or if a company that still have assets or with collateral, it will be easy. But if the case is the debt come from a dispute, come from a service fee, or the payment late, become a debt, then the first thing you will need to do is ask the court for supporting a security measure that is urgently block on the bank account, for example, of the company, or even block asset, or that is to guarantee or to make sure at the end of the lawsuit, you can get back the money and the money is available for you. So that is on the legal basis I would like to share with you. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you, Katleen. That's very technical, but I think it's exactly what some people would want to hear is the specifics about the different kind of debt recovery. I mean, one question, you know, one question I had was, what's the value of a debt acknowledgement? You know, so often with the debtor, you know, you ask them to acknowledge the debt. It's there, but you know, often there's a lot of paperwork every month or at certain times where you ask the debtor, please acknowledge that this is the actual amount of the debt. Can you explain what's the benefit of a debt acknowledgement letter?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you very well in the end of the sentence. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah. What's the value or the benefit of getting a debt acknowledgement from a debtor?
Actually, to understand the knowledge, the data that is quite important. In Vietnam, we also can have general information from, yeah, that's one you also remind me one thing that I'm listening to talking about is registering and also network information about a debt. So in order to know that debtor have a good reputation, and also in order to know that collaborate use for another debt or not, then we very important to value that debtor that this good reputation or not. And we have network, we have government information to check it. We also have a document of the debtor in the bank or in the government system to evaluate and to value on the debtor like that.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Again, this one for all of our panelists is how long should an investor or a company wait before seeking help about a debtor that won't pay according to the agreed timeline? So by Vietnam standards, you know, again, there's always somebody going to be late, especially in the current situation, but you know, how long is long enough before you need to go and get a lawyer or somebody else, an agent, to help you solve a problem?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, usually before going into ask for help from lawyer or the court, you also can negotiate. If the debt is come from a loan agreement between two parties, usually we prefer official letter, warning letter between two parties first. And then the lawyer also can send a warning letter, then go to the court. If we go to the court with this is a civil or the trading case, is with fact form 2 to 3 months to handle the case. So basically, it's not a very long time to get back the debt. But after the court, we have to go to enforcement procedure. And it depends on collateral is available and the money available or not. So basically, before go into a debt or a legal lawsuit, it depends on the case. If the case is very obvious, like collateral clear, then negotiation, that is, we work well, mediation center can help. But in case it still have dispute or it's very hard to find assets or collateral is not there, then you better go strictly and immediately to the court to protect as well.
May I jump in here just to add a couple of things?
Thanks, Dimitra.
First, according to the law in Vietnam, banks cannot do debt settlement. So
right.
You cannot forgive part of the debt. This is important to know. So what you can do in the worst case, you can do interest and fee waivers, but only in very exceptional cases. In most cases, by law and by definition, you are not allowed to do debt settlement at all. Is first. Second, from January 1st, Parliament made a decision that no outsourced collection will be allowed. So outsourcing agencies need to close and cease their operations from January 1st, 2021. However, we see that all outsourced agencies are now get the license to be legal advisory companies, and they proceed under different umbrella. So they don't change nothing, but they put different umbrella. However, I think the topic of ethical collection is there. And for example, VP Bank has very strong requirement with all outsourced agencies to follow certain ethical collection rules. And in case of violating with very strict penalties. This is currently, always was a very important, but this is one of the very important features that need to be observed. What is really warning is the law that envisages that from October, November, I think from October, customer can inform the bank or any institution that he doesn't want to receive calls, receive SMS, receive advertising. And any violation of this law will be penalized up to $100 million per case. It's around $3,500 per case. So this brings another difficulties in terms of debt collection, but is customer protection, which we need to respect and which we need to accept. Thank you. I just wanted to add a couple points. Thank you.
Thanks, Dimitra. Okay. No, I think there's one that there's a question that's come up that you might be able to help us with. How is the Vietnam banking outlook for funding new FDI manufacturing business during or post-COVID? So one of our attendees has asked, how's the banks looking at funding new FDI manufacturing businesses, at this time or even into the future? Do you see any change in your risk appetite or investability of these FDI manufacturing businesses? Actually,
I see big competition for such customers, especially with clear credit history and good prospects. For sure, during COVID-19 or any crisis, in credit analysis, you factor in how the company will behave during COVID-19. But there are big sustainable companies who still open operational or will bypass the COVID without huge losses, which is inevitable. Crisis will be over, and there is this fake story that in Chinese language, crisis means danger and opportunity, which is not true, but nonetheless, this is a good opportunity as well. So I think there is quite normal and standard appetite for this. Supported by cash flows, it will be very welcome.